And we are back. Welcome, one and all, to the Founder Insights podcast by Animoca Brands. My name is Rich Robinson. I am entrepreneur in residence at Animoca Brands. And wow, kaboom town, fasten your seatbelts, put your tray tables in the upright position, and get ready for takeoff, everybody. Our guest today is a get. He's the most incredible guy in the metaverse. And he's Mr. Metaverse as far as I'm concerned. I feel like I see him more often than people that live close to me because he has the biggest mini shampoo collection in the world, teleporting around the multiverse. Put your hands together, please, for Sebastien Borget, co-founder and COO of the Sandbox, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. I'm very touched.
Right now you're in India, and I love watching your posts where you're like, I am teleporting off again. You teleport everywhere. It's just like there's Seb once again in another part of the multiverse as he builds up the metaverse. And I have, I've been through Web 1, Web 2, smartphone, the growth of China. I'm a front row seat, very, very keen observer of Web 3, but I don't know. Are you part cyborg or something? You have this incredible engine inside of you that motivates you and keeps you going. And I'm amazingly just impressed over and over again by what you build. So please give a little intro about the Sandbox and tell us about like what's exciting you right now, please, and then we'll dig deeper.
All right. Well, thank you. No, I'm very human. Don't worry. I'm very touched by our community, and I think like the main mission of what's driving us at Sandbox is really this simple idea that we want to empower anyone to become a creator. And so it all started back in 2011 as a simple mobile game where people could share online their creation. The creation that they made just by the touch of their finger on like those new touch screens that was really the novelty back then. And it evolved, it grew into a large success. We had millions of installs, millions of creations, but also we encounter some challenges on like how do we retain those creators over time? How do we allow them to like make a living and even not even a living, maybe earn a little bit back from what they contributed to the game? And we also struggle with like, well, the not being able to do so because of the gated platform and limitation of like the platform where we were being distributed, the App Store and the Google Play Store. And so fast forward 2018, Sandbox turned into not just a game, but it became a platform with this idea that anyone can make 3D content and share that content into like an experience, into a game that they make with a no-code tool. If it's something very easy, very accessible, drag and drop, and they will truly own those creations. So they will have the freedom to use it anywhere they want, even outside of Sandbox. They have the freedom to sell it or transfer it to other users and basically be able to grow a platform with diverse content that creators own and monetize the way they want. That's what we're aiming to build Sandbox as. And it's been, I'm sure you're aware that we are part of the Animoca Brands group and family, and that's been like part of like the journey of what we've achieved and built for the past 5 years now together.
Fantastic. And you guys are, I think, really looked up in the community as this thought leader, but you're kind of like an overnight success after almost 13 years of chipping away at this. It's fascinating that back in 2011 that you really were creator centric. Tell us about some of that thinking and how that came about. That's like truly visionary.
So, well, like, overnight success after 12 years, like that's a long night. Huh? So that the way I like to think is like, it's more like the accumulation of the experience and like the commitment to that simple mission. Like we focused more and more into like building the platform, building the tools, making choices that like really affect like how simple it will be for creators to be onboarded. For example, using Voxels, which are like digital Legos, like those 3D cubes that you put together. They are both like very simple and accessible, so a child can use it, but they're also very versatile. So like artists, architects, people more advanced with more advanced skills could turn it into like piece of art and more complex, beautifully designed games. The second thing is the choice of this no-code tool that doesn't require any programming language. I think it's very unique on the market. Like all the other creation tools, whether it's Unity, Unreal, or even Roblox, need a level of by knowing a programming language, so it's less accessible. And what it turned out is like Sandbox is much more than just a gaming platform. Even the intention and the background is gaming. We're using game and gamification, so game rule, quest, gamification, leaderboard, things like that, to create this feeling of fun, of replayability, of re-engagement that drive people back. But it's being applied to a much wider spectrum of like industry vertical and categories. And so Sandbox is where it's a platform that has evolved into combining culture and gaming, and culture in the form of art, of fashion, of media, of music celebrities, concerts, sports, but also surprisingly, and thing we didn't even expect, but broader range of the industry like finance, banking, education, work has also leveraged Sandbox in unique ways to engage their audiences and launch their experience in the metaverse that they co-create with their community. And so it started uh, as a massive UGC game, like UGC, user-generated content. We believe that it is the future of gaming. Anyone can become a creator, can make their own, not just characters, but make their own level and share them. So that was the starting point, but we also saw something interesting from 2018 forward. And I think like today, it's also makes Sandbox quite different from other competitors. The interest from brands. Brands jumped among the first into Web3, and we've been with Sandbox one of the entry gates toward like Web3 because of like combining the creativity, the utility, and the accessibility for their audience to make new things that connect them with their fan and allow them to create communities further. And now today, Sandbox counts over 400 major global brands, not just from Western or the US. So yes, we're very famous. We became more famous with Snoop Dogg entering Sandbox, or Paris Hilton entering Sandbox, or Walking Dead, or Warner Music. But we also have brought more regional brands from Turkey, from Hong Kong, from Korea, that also shaped Sandbox into its own company culture and identity, where it's much more diverse and global. And that's reflected. You were part of our event that we ran a month ago in Hong Kong at our first Creator Day, Global Creator Day, where you saw that actually more than 30% of Sandbox audience and partners and brands and creators are from Asia. And that give a very unique twist where we combine like culture from those different parts of the world. And today I'm in India because we also have major music, movie, entertainment, Bollywood partner here that maybe every Indian knows about. Like if I mentioned Ungama, Shemaru, Eros Now, those are things that they use on a daily basis to access to their favorite celebrity, music artists, etc. But the rest of the world has to discover. And so we bridge that culture from one part of the world to the rest of the world. And we're a platform that connects them all as well.
Extraordinary indeed. I have never experienced anything like this in my 30 years of working across the internet in terms of the globalization and the diversity from HSBC to Snoop Dogg to a independent creator. It's absolutely really like the essence of Web3 that you guys are truly capturing. Can you share a couple of activation examples that you're proud of? One from more established brands and one from more independent creators to share with the audience some idea of what's happening.
Yes, we're very proud of some of those. Actually, some of those activations, they won awards. So they've been recognized in the industry at more like traditional marketing awards or like uh, innovation awards. Typically, but we have like South China Morning Post that launched an experience that reproduced Hong Kong historically. We had, like I mentioned, DBS that launched an experience called DBS Better World, which like I've been very focused on more like ESGs and sustainability. We had one experience with Incheon City in Korea, the big city next to Seoul, where the airport is, which has been like commemorating 70th anniversary from like Korean War and like giving all the proceeds in favor of like veterans. We had Lotte World Park that launched in Sandbox and also had like a physical experience. Of course, we had Snoop Dogg who recreated his mansion, his house, and allowed people to visit it. And we're working on his concert. Steve Aoki, who also like gamified his whole house and like launched exciting experience. And some of those brands, they went even further than just launch their own content. They actually, they open themselves to co-creation with their community. So I would say it's the growl. Like normally as a fan, like how do you express your fandom? When you're a fan of like a cartoon, manga, an anime, or a celebrity, what do? You buy their merchandising, you attend their concerts, you watch them on TV, online, YouTube, follow them on social media. Sometimes you make your own drawing, fine arts, like tattoos and so on. So, but this is still like very limited in this kind of interaction. But Sandbox provide a platform where you can get together in your social hubs. You can use the avatar from that celebrity as your digital identity and represent that as you explore across the world. So instead of wearing just a t-shirt of the celebrity, you become a unique version of that celebrity that you can use to as your avatar. But you can also make your own stories, your own game, your own adventure to expand the universe. And if you're actually being noticed by the quality of that creation, like that creates a very special connection with the other fans and with the brand. And we've had like game jam like this with Avenged Sevenfold, which is like a major hard rock metal band in the US. We had Care Bears actually running right now a game jam, and of course Walking Dead in the past, etc. So how cool is it to invent your own Walking Dead game, your own Walking Dead story, and make it accessible to everyone? That's the kind of like collaboration that now brands are really excited about, and Sandbox provide a very creative and engaged community eager to participate, eager to create stories, to create games because of the very accessible tool. And then we also had like collaboration we're very proud of because they also shaped how, again, Sandbox is more than just a platform that empower creators, but we empower creators to bring to life their imagination, to share as well a very powerful message to the rest of the world. And often that message is related, like, how do we create positive impact? How do we support certain minorities? How do we make a more inclusive world? And so we had events like the Meta Pride, where like award-winning experiences featured like LGBTQ plus support for LGBTQ plus communities and avatar collections. We had experiences that touched around education toward like environmental support, protection of endangered species, and that gave donation to NGOs to support those, for example, with Carrefour and the Bees, or the Jaguar Foundation. We had space where users could actually protest peacefully in the metaverse with experience like Vistaverse to express their support for like very important causes like support for the right of abortion by women, for example, and so on. So we're really proud in a way to be the platform that allows people to deliver a message peacefully, express themselves, get together from any part of the world, and again, like be more creative in how they do so.
That's beautiful. And shout out to Akbar and Simone from People of Crypto who have done some terrific activations. And, I think you really have this incredibly diverse creator community. You really walk the walk and talk the talk. And I'd like to peel back, double click on what you talked about before with the large brands is that holy grail, that really deep fan engagement by emulating and composing upon the brand. I mean, previously it was, oh, you're doing something with our brand? Here's a cease and desist letter. just stop doing that or we're going to sue you. Now it's like, oh, you're doing something with our brand. Here's a start and encouragement letter, and here's a platform for you to be able to really add value to the community and to build upon our brand. And I think that's a completely different mindset that Web3 has brought to marketing that I think brands really need to embrace. And you're kind of the uh, gateway drug to that, if I may, right? It's a really safe, beautiful environment for people to do that well and do it easily and really get excited about it. Yeah, I used to draw stuff about bands when I was a kid, and people, really get passionate and lose their mind for that kind of stuff. And you're creating this platform that not only can people can do it, but they can even be accruing value by building upon that. Can you give an example of some of the other more independent creators that are creating stuff, please? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you see, like it's quite inherent. It's natural. Like since we were a kid, we draw characters from our favorite cartoons, from our favorite movie. We play with, I don't know, toys, Legos. We invent our stories. We take a Barbie doll and we take I don't know, a dinosaur, and we make our own stories. And we mix brand, like brand. That's something also very unique in Sandbox. The fact that they are not just siloed each one, but really they cross over. You can take content made by yourself and with other brands and remix it as you want. So we're a platform that allows to bring that creativity. And like you said, instead of like telling you, no, you can't, actually, we tell you, you can. Here's a reward for doing so. Keep going on. We'll feature you and you actually very valuable. So it's also like teaching brand and teaching users and fans that like every contribution is valuable and should be rewarded because it contributes to grow the brand, to grow the community. And so you're part of that value chain at the end of the day. The fan, the consumers, like they help the brand to get more known. And on the other platform, they just are like liking content, posting to reach the user. It's a very weird business model that we all have been like funneled into and we consider was a normality. While I think Web3 like brings a new strong perspective on like how value should be redistributed among like all the different parts that being involved. We're also proud to have like a very active community and the ecosystem actually of studios, agencies, builders, and individual creators that now count over 250 agencies that we certified, 130,000 active creators on a daily basis, like mixing, remixing stuff. Some of those studios were like received award as well for their creation, like Fact Bros in Korea, for example. We are thinking of like Amit Crab in Brazil, like they are focused more on like sports, kind of and cultural activations. We've had a Swipe Back in France that worked with Ledger and received multiple prizes for like turning a brand like Ledger. It's just like a physical hardware wallet, nothing fancy, nothing exciting. And they were able to turn into a gamified game that teach you about security, how that wallet is made. They launch a second experience, and through that activation, they reach like million of users who completed the quest, who spent half an hour to 1 hour on average to engage with the brand and like gain value, knowledge, etc. Pengu, who launched the McDonald's Hong Kong experience, where like again, like take something very simple like chicken McNuggets. Then first you know that they actually exist already for 25 years. There's been like 4 shapes and it's been elevated into, instead of being just a piece of food that you eat every day, into a form of art that combine artists, an exposition at the M Plus Museum in Hong Kong, a physical event that gathered the artist, the creator, and the brand, uh, expo and demo station within several McDonald's in Hong Kong to onboard people to like play the experience, create, and more. So it's been really interesting as well to bring and bridge culturally the metaverse, both in the virtual and the physical world, through the work of those creators.
Fantastic. I look at my teenage sons, and one of them loves to consume Twitch or YouTube videos of other people gaming. And that's basically, people composing upon existing games and adding their own excitement and commentary and humor to it. And another one loves to create, and he creates fan fiction. And like those are the two things that they love to do, which when I was their age, it was not really even conceivable. And that's even a little bit old school fan fiction and Twitch. And like now Web3 with the ability to have that value accrue to the actual creator and to be able to create these environments where the brands are encouraging it and there's amazing tools, it's going to flower and create even more. And I think that's where I think people still don't have this good grasp of what the metaverse is. They feel like it has to be this all encompassing 3D environment like Ready Player One, but the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed, and you're really anchoring it around the creator. And I think that's a really beautiful mission and vision. Can you share with some listeners who are maybe not quite as clear about how to define a metaverse, or how the creator economy could be beneficial to them? Can you maybe simplify it a little bit?
Yes, because we've seen many misconceptions around like what a metaverse is. Like it became more notorious back in November 2021 when Facebook rebranded itself as Meta. But part of that strategy was also like to make people think and associate like metaverse with actually virtual reality experience, VR. And like because there was a very simple goal for that company was to sell hardware VR headsets. Ultimately, the metaverse, and we're like you said, like we're seeing it, it's essentially the ability for any users with their avatar to move seamlessly across different virtual worlds and platforms without any restriction. So we see the metaverse as a myriad, millions and millions of like 3D virtual world places that people can connect to. And instead of being like isolated like they are right now, like when you play in Minecraft, you are in Minecraft, you cannot take your Minecraft account and take your Minecraft avatar and Minecraft content and creation outside of Minecraft. Same with Roblox, same with Fortnite, same with Meta, etc. Those are all like siloed. And we live in those like mini bubbles. Like we have multiple accounts, our digital identity are split across all, versus the metaverse is the idea that it's all becoming one unified. My digital identity, my digital asset, all the things I bought, I create, all the experience I acquire is mine, and I can transfer it seamlessly across all those different places. So that requires technology behind to support that, like that all those different worlds and places to communicate with each other. That technology, so far today, the only reliable, transparent, trustable, decentralized is blockchain, meaning that the information cannot be modified by a single party, meaning like, yes, I can trust that my digital identity and my content will not be altered by one of those platforms where I connect to. And that's what we're growing. We see already in a matter of 2 years, the narrative evolve. Like when you listen to Roblox, the CEO speaking on his like investor keynote, when you listen at Fortnite and the new UEFN, you definitely see it's all gearing toward a creator economy now. Like they want to onboard people to create content, to create all those experiences, and give like evolve the future of gaming, evolve the future of metaverse toward like these massive user-generated content experiences, and start to interconnect them with the same avatar as the core of your digital identity.
Fantastic, thank you. And I would love to go back to yesteryear. So Animoca acquired what was Pixel, now Sandbox, 5 years ago in 2018, and you'd already been at it for 7 years. Tell us a bit about your journey along the way and some of the lessons you've learned, and what are some of the nuggets. If we're talking about chicken McNuggets, tell us about startup McNuggets, founder nuggets that people can take with them to learn from some of your mistakes. It's great to learn from experience, Much better to learn from other people's experience so you don't make those mistakes.
Right. So, well, it's a long journey, as I mentioned. I think like a few takeaways like we have is like you don't know everything right from the beginning. So you have first like to listen very carefully to your community, to your creators. Sometimes you have to accelerate when you see something, even something you didn't actually expect, like taking off. Like again, like we didn't expect bank, finance, and other brands to jump on board to buy land in Sandbox. The concept of land, like really something that really took off, and people understood better the virtual real estate and the map of Sandbox first, even before the idea of metaverse, interoperability, avatar, and so on. So that we understood, and we understood that like actually doing what we call urban planning, like curating neighborhoods by bringing brands together or bringing culture of the world from different countries like Turkey, Singapore, Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, Bharat Box, India, we're going to announce today, works really well. People like to work as a community, as a neighborhood in those virtual worlds, and to be the neighbor of their favorite celebrities, something unique that you don't get on any other platform. So we really accelerated on that, and that helped us to like onboard many brands first by virtual land. That's actually the first step. Entering Sandbox, we always say like if you want to build, you need a land, you need to choose your location. It's really important. Second thing we found is like the importance of the avatar. Like we didn't expect avatar to become the main entry point, and yet it is a digital identity. And this is digital identities that serve you to explore, to connect, to socialize with others, but also becomes your access to all the different services. You accumulate experience, you accumulate equipment, skins, and others. And we see and it's also used for expressing yourself with emotes. And the economy of the avatar is essentially the successful monetization model that we've seen in all the platforms. Like Fortnite, 70% of their revenue comes from selling avatar skins and so on. So that proved maybe we should have started or accelerate earlier on that part. We also think like we try to like it's important to like find like the strategic synergic relationship. Basically, you don't know, you're not able to figure out and build everything yourself and so on. So one common mistake many entrepreneurs will do is like, all right, we'll build ourselves all solution, we'll reinvent the way people will connect with their wallet, etc. But you cannot solve all the parts of like the ecosystem or the industry you're working in unless you have like a limited time, a limited amount of money, or a limited amount of engineering. And hiring is very hard. It's very challenging. In the bull market, it's very competitive financially, and you don't find the best talent. In the bear market, like it's people stick to their job, so they don't want necessarily to move to a new project. So there's been decision, like for example, sometimes to how do you grow and how do you improve what you have? How do you double down on your success? So the partnering and being part of Animoca brand has really been strategic and synergic. Like Animoca brand has been promoting Metaverse, promoting Sandbox, promoting virtual land anywhere they go, any conference they talk at, etc. So it's been really a huge catalyst for as well, like us to be more recognized globally, thanks to the work of Yatsu, Robbie Young, etc. We found that we in Sandbox, we consider we have three key parts. One is the product, the tools we provide, like our marketplace, our Vox Edit, our free editor, our game maker. Then we have the content, the thing that we launch, the experience that we launch with the brand, and the ecosystem is like the studios, the agency, the partners that are using our tools to launch their own content. And somehow at the beginning, we focused too much on the content and we acquired maybe a bit of a technical depth on our product. So we realized that, and we've been working over the past year to really catch back, to rearrange internally the team to be more focused on like, let's develop great product, and ultimately it will drive.
Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we saw like somehow.
I'm sorry to interrupt a little bit of a leg. But can you talk about that technical debt? Like, I'd love you to go a little bit deeper into that, like what you mean by that.
Yeah, so of course we can see it in many ways. Like one is like we're using you're building with blockchain technology. Like so we are building with Ethereum. We all know as well like how Ethereum has been as a mainnet has been growing and struggling with like the scale of its capacity, raising like high gas fees, etc. It definitely had an impact on like the ability of users to purchase their own digital asset. Nobody's going to pay high fees to buy an asset. So we had to actually implement a layer two solution, Polygon, but it takes time. So the technical debt and moving. Finally, we're opening the marketplace on Polygon. Anyone can mint, anyone can buy everything on Polygon, but it took us over a year to actually bridge all our content to that. So that's and it's like you're also dependent on the technology, and you also can scale at the speed of what that technology evolves. um, we are building the sandbox on Unity. And Unity is great. It's a fantastic framework that allows like games to be made multi-platform. So we chose it because it's also going to help us bring Sandbox to mobile, and we'll be able to launch it by end of 2024. Something we work on. But we also somehow saw certain limits of like Unity. They even recognize it themselves during their Unite conference. Unity hasn't been the best at multiplayer type of like gameplay. Like, and so we also have been limited in the way of like what we can offer in terms of multiplayer experience because of the restriction of the engine that we've chose. So this is things that are improving, and I'm sure like Sandbox will definitely be different in a year with more multiplayer interaction. But just keeping in mind, it's not been necessarily it's always a compromise, and you acquire a certain technical depth as like someone who built 5 years ago on a technology versus someone who builds today with technology as well. And back to the idea that our game maker and the product we provide allows people to make better content and then grow an ecosystem. We also see that, well, it takes time to make great products, and there is sometimes market expectation that things can be delivered fast. Yes, things can be delivered fast when you have 1,000 engineers and billions of dollars heads in your cash flow to build. Like, but we are no Meta. We are not Roblox with 2,000 engineers. We're not for Epic with like the best engineers in the world on that technology, Unreal, that worked for years. So we also have to appreciate the limits and see, okay, how fast we can ship back. And things get better. Like we just released a new Game Maker 09, which we're very, very excited about, and the community as well. It brings a new rule system. Still in no code, people can make collaborative and competitive multiplayer game, a great variety of them, from racing, platforming, puzzle, a game that involves randomness, and so on. So next year, I'm sure we'll see a great difference, more fun, more engagement, and it will drive up the overall excitement and engagement. But it is something that you always have to keep in mind. Like, how do we always like offer like the best of what we can? How do we have like the best creation tools so like people can do very exciting things on our platform, and we shouldn't forget about that. And a lot of companies in Web3, they focus a bit too much only on the community, and they might often forget like you need to ship a great satisfying player or creator experience and not take 2 years to build it. So don't forget about like the fundamentals. Make a product that's engaging, that will drive retention, that will make people spend time. And it's all an economy and of attention nowadays, right? So those are some of our takeaways.
Thank you. Delicious nuggets indeed. I think your first point of we have a thesis, we're going to create this metaverse, but wow, look, a lot of more traditional institutions or larger brands are coming on board. Let's adjust and respond to that. I think it's an excellent advice for founders to have your strong opinions but loosely held. We're going to go in this direction. Oh, we're getting pulled from the market in this direction. Then absolutely, let's go there. And I think yeah. Also, you talked about hiring staff or doing things that are not necessarily core to your mission and vision. And I think especially today with AI, you should be figuring out how your employees on a more, their individual creator, contributor, what are they spending their time on that can be either reduced by AI or eliminated by AI or enhanced by AI, and what can you do by partnering and only focusing on really what you do super well and outsource everything else. So that's a terrific advice. And in some ways, I love how Sandbox is shaping up. There's neighborhoods. It feels, it's got land, and the avatars are your identity. In some ways, I feel like Web3 is much more like the real world in a way. Web2 is this weird, distorted version where we basically, all the creators have to, are producers, but they're not actually accruing any value. It's like a step backwards. Yat often talks about, Lord Zuckerberg or House of Microsoft or Order of Google. And we're like these vassals in these fiefdoms just toiling in the fields. And now you've created these capitalistic and democratic and free and compelling virtual societies. And it's super, super exciting. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It was great. I know you're in India right now and you're going to teleport off somewhere else in the world. I'm really excited for what the future brings for Sandbox. And Sebastien Borget, everybody, merci beaucoup. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rich. It's a pleasure. And I look forward to keep sharing in the next months, in the next years, how we keep building, growing, developing Sandbox, and hopefully become a leading decentralized platform competing with the others you mentioned.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. All the best. I'll let you get back to your exciting launches in India.
Thank you, everyone, and see you in the Metaverse.
And there you have it, Monsieur Borget in the multiverse, jet setting, teleporting across the multiverse to build the Metaverse. Please comment, like, and subscribe below, and join us for our next Founder Insights podcast coming soon.
This podcast is for information purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Any opinions provided in this podcast reflect the views of the speakers only.